Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The streaming services have created new ways for consumers to access the content they want more cheaply and conveniently than with traditional arrangements. This means more control over the type of content they pay for and flexibility in how they access it. However, it also can fracture access to teams or sports across multiple platforms, driving costs for consumers. Mr. Bergmark, can this need for multiple subscription services mitigate some of the benefits of cutting the cord?
I think it does, and I think it's worth pointing out. Sports have always been sometimes you'd have to change channels to watch a different game. A different media company would buy the rights; it would be on a different channel. Well, that's kind of easy. People know how to change channels. I think one of the big it's not just you have to flip to another app. It's the platforms that users have to navigate. Smart TVs, Roku, Apple TV, they all work differently, so it's very hard to just give uniform instructions to tell people how to do it. They might need to first set up an account with Apple or with the smart TV company, set up an account on the Samsung App Store or what have you, then install that, and then set up yet another account with that. So I think even if it seems like, oh, what's the big deal? It's just different apps, you install an app. Just think through the experience and think, even trying to help, at least for me, trying to help people who are less technically savvy through these things, maybe over the phone, it can be very challenging. So I absolutely agree. The cost issue is pretty significant. I think online is still better than the cable bundle in terms of cost, but this inconvenience, I think, is really a sore point for consumers.
Right, and I understand that perfectly because, once my son left for college, it was kind of hard to figure out all this. You got to plan ahead more. You just can't do it.
Yeah,
like
you couldn't
like
give them
to do
tech
it.
support.
Yeah. While most big games are available over the air in local markets or on platform, increasing games are fragmented, as we said, across multiple platforms. This means consumers are increasingly forced to pay twice for the content they used to get in one place. In extreme cases, single games are exclusively available in one platform if the rights holder chooses to restrict access. Mr. Thune, do you think these exclusive deals, what do they think these exclusive deals mean for consumer access? And do you have concerns about what this trend might mean for sports fans in the future?
Well, I think we talked about a little bit that the recent Dolphins-Chiefs game was challenging for a lot of subscribers and as the numbers proved out, what many thought to be the game of the weekend was the lowest rated game of all of them. It should have been the highest viewed if it was on broadcast. But it wasn't. Now, I guess, then to Mr. Oran's point, just to be technical about it, the Chiefs were shown in Kansas City, and the Dolphins and the games were shown in Kansas City and Miami. But everywhere else in the country, they weren't.
Right.
So you had to go get it through Peacock. Peacock is using it as a vehicle to drive people into that subscription.
Sure.
And the NFL did the deal with them so that they could use that to tout people to come into the Peacock subscription.
Absolutely.
Much of the content that's in Peacock, to your point earlier, customers are already paying for it. Probably the lion's share of the content that's in Peacock is available through the subscription of DirecTV and other pay TV providers.
Yeah.
So in those instances where they use one game as a carrot to bring people in, it is frustrating for customers because if they go through the app and see what other content is in there to discover, not all of it's really new and fresh to them. They've already got it through their pay TV.
Okay. I want to talk about women's sports. For too long, bad faith arguments about profitability and lack of interest have been made against women's sports. I introduced the Goals Act, which eventually led to pay equity between the men's and women's national soccer teams. While this was a step in the right direction, we have a lot of work ahead of us to promote equitable access to games and fair compensation for athletes. Mr. Lawler, can you discuss the role of WNBA and National Women's Soccer Leagues in Scripps' footprint, and do you see them as an opportunity for growth moving forward?
Thank you for the question. We're really excited about using the ION platform to showcase women's sports. As I said in my prepared remarks, this is a priority of the company. We bought ION during the pandemic, and the prior owner did not have a sports strategy, so there was no sports on ION. It's the 5th highest rated broadcast network in America. And so after we acquired it, we spent some time sort of looking at the sports landscape to see if ION had a place to play in sports. And one of the things that we identified was it's really hard to be a women's sports fan in America because it's impossible to find with any consistency where these games are, and very often only one game a week, 2 games a week would be on national television, and it would typically be on require a cable subscription.
Right.
We identified women's sports as an opportunity for our company. We acquired the rights for all Friday night games for the WNBA. Last season was our first season, and we lifted the reach of the WNBA by 30%. And as I said earlier, there were many weeks where we were beating ESPN with our ratings. This year, we'll expand that. We're going to add a live studio show, so it's almost going to look like the NFL and giving women and women's sports that notoriety. And now we're part of the new National Women's Soccer League deal.
Wow.
Ourselves with partners with CBS, with Amazon, and with ESPN.
Wow.
We'll have 50 nights, 25 weeks. Again, national platform, over the air. The entire country can see for free women's sports.
I thank you very much. I went over. I just wanted to hear more of that. I will be back.